Alright, so chapter 7 of Cybersecurity Essentials version 1.1. So looking at protecting a cybersecurity domain. So looking at defending systems and devices, server hardening, network hardening, physical security. Let's look at defending systems and devices. So operating system security. Operating system plays a critical role in the operation of a computer system and is the target of many attacks. Alright, so you need things like anti-malware, antiviruses. Alright, so anti-malware protects you from viruses, worms, Trojan horses, keyloggers, spyware, and hardware. So they all invade privacy, steal information, and damage the system or delete and corrupt data. So it's important to protect computers and mobile devices using reputable anti-malware software. So, and also, creating an administrator in operating system hardens the operating system by modifying the default configuration to make it more secure to outside threats. So, you could also do yourself a favor by creating a standard user for guests to use your PC. That's when it comes to personal systems. So, another critical requirement of hardening an operating system is the application of security patches and updates. So, always update your Windows security. And if you're using third party anti-malware softwares, always update them. Patch management. So patches are code updates that manufacturers provide to prevent a newly discovered virus or worms from making a successful attack. So manufacturers combine patches and upgrades into comprehensive update application called a service patch. So we also have host-based firewalls. So a software firewall is a program that runs on a computer to allow or deny traffic between the computer and other connected computers. So the software firewall applies a set of rules to data transmission through inspection and filtering of data packets. Then we also have host intrusion detection system. So a computer uh, or a host intrusion detection system is software that runs on a host computer that monitors suspicious activities. Then we also have VPNs. Alright, so when connecting to the local network and sharing files, the communication between computers remains within that network. So communicate and share resources over a network that is not secure. You should employ using VPNs. Alright, so a VPN is a private network that connects remote sites to or users together over a public network like the internet. Then WEP, wired equivalent privacy. So one of the most important components of the modern computing are mobile devices. So the majority of devices found on today's networks are laptops, tablets, smartphones, and wireless devices. So WEP is one of the first widely used Wi-Fi security standards. Alright, so there's also WPA, WPA2. So the next major improvements to wireless security was introduction of the WPA and WPA2. So Wi-Fi protected access, which is the WPA, was the computer industry's response to the weakness of WEP standard. Mutual authentication. Now, the importer can launch a man-in-the-middle attack, which is very difficult to detect and can result in stolen login credentials and transmitted data. So this to prevent rogue access points, the computer industry developed mutual authentication. So mutual authentication is also called a two-way authentication and is a process of technology in which both entities in a communication link authenticate to each other. And there's also file access control, consists of permissions that limit folder or files access for an individual or group of users. Then file encryption. File encryption is a tool used to protect data stored in form of files. Alright, so there's also system and data backups. So a data backup stores a copy of information from a computer to removable backup media. So backing up data is one of the most effective ways of protecting against data losses. You can also back up to remote storage locations like the cloud. Image and content control. So content screening and blocking. So content control software restricts the content that the user can access with the web browser over the internet. So content control software can block sites that contains certain types of material such as pornographic or controversial religious or political content. Then there's disk cloning and deep freeze. So many third-party applications are available to restore a system back to a default state. So this allows the administrator to protect the operating system and configuration files for a system. So disk cloning copies the contents of the computer's hard disk to an image file. So deep freeze freezes the hard drive partition. So when a user restarts the system reverts to its frozen configuration. So the system does not save any changes that the user make. So any applications installed or files saved are lost when the system restarts. Physical protection and workstations. So to enforce physical protection, right, you use security cables and locks. So there are several methods of physically protecting computer equipment. You use cable locks, you keep telecommunication rooms locked, and use security cages around equipment. All right, so we also have logout timers. So an employee gets up and leaves his computer to take a break. So if the employee does not take any action to secure his workstation, any information on that system is unable to an unauthorized access. Then also there's also an idle timeout and screen lock. So employees may or may not log out of their computer when they leave the workspace. So therefore, it is a security best practice to configure an idle timer that automatically log the user out and lock the screen. All right. Login time. So in some situations, an organization may want employees to log in during specific hours, such as 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. So the system blocks logins during the hours that falls outside of the login hours. GPS tracking. So this GPS tracking uses satellites and computers to determine the location of a of a device. So GPS technology is a standard feature on smartphone that provides real-time position tracking. So GPS can pinpoint a location between 100 meters. So there's also inventory and RFID tags. So radio frequency identification, which is the RFID, uses radio waves to identify and track objects. So RFID inventory systems use tags attached to all items that an organization wants to track. Server hardening. Now, how do you harden a server? So hardening just means making something much more impenetrable. So maintaining remote access, managing remote access. So remote access refers to any combination of hardware and software that enables users to access a local internal network remotely. So this could be done by Telnet, SSH, and SCP. So SSH is a protocol that provides a secure encrypted management connection to a remote device. So SSH should replace Telnet for management connections. Telnet is an older protocol, okay, that uses unsecure plain text transmission for both the login authentication, which is the username and password, and the data transmitted between the communicating devices. Then SCP, secure copy, securely transfers computer files between two remote systems. So SCP uses SSH for data transfer, which includes the authentication element. So SCP ensures the authenticity and confidentiality of the data in transit. Administrative measures. So some administrative measures could include securing ports and services, right? So cyber criminals employs the service running on a system because they know that most devices run more services or programs that they need. So an administrator should look at every service to verify its necessity and evaluate its risk. Then another administrative measure is privileged accounts. So a cyber criminal exploits privileged accounts because they are the most powerful accounts in the organization. So privileged accounts have the credentials to gain access to systems that they provide elevated unrestricted access. So administrators use these accounts to deploy and manage operating systems, applications, and network devices. So these accounts should be secure or removed to mitigate this risk. Then group policies is another administrative measure. So in most networks that use Windows computers, an administrator configures Active Directory with domains on a Windows server. So an administrator configures user account policies such as password policies and lockout policies by adding users to groups and setting policies at a group level. Another administrative measure is enable logs and alerts. So a log records events as they occur on a system. So log entries make up a log file, right? And the log entry contains all of the information related to a specific event. So logs that relate to a computer security have grown in importance. Now let's look at physical protection of server power. So a critical issue in protecting information system is electrical power systems and power considerations. So a consistent supply of electric power is critical in today's massive server and data storage facilities. Next, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. All right, HVAC. So HVAC systems are critical to the safety of people and information systems in the organization's facilities. So when designing modern IT facilities, these systems play a very important role in the overall security. Hardware monitoring. So hardware monitoring is often found in large server farms. So a server farm is a facility that houses hundreds or thousands of servers for companies. Now let's look at hardening networks. So operation center. So the network operation center, the NOC, is one or more locations containing the tools that provide administrators with a detailed status of the organization's network. The NOC is the ground zero for network troubleshooting, performance monitoring, software distribution and updates, communication management, and device management. So we have switches, routers, and network appliances within these network operation centers. So network devices ship with either no passwords or default passwords. So network switches are the heart of the modern data communication network. So the main threats to network switches are theft, hacking, and remote access. So um, attacks against network protocols like ARP, SCP, or attacks against performance and availability. Then there are VLANs. So to provide a way to group devices within a LAN and on individual switches, VLANs are logical connections that are used for this. So VLANs use logical connection instead of physical connections. Right. Now we also have firewalls. So firewalls can be used to harden network. We also have routers. Routers form the backbone of the internet communication between different networks. We also have wireless and mobile devices, network and routing services. VoIP equipment. So these are equipments that also um, require attention. So VoIP equipment, which is voice over internet protocol, use networks such as the internet to make and receive phone calls. So the equipment required for VoIP includes the internet connection plus a phone. So also cameras. So an internet camera sends and receives data over a local area network. So user can remotely view live video using web browsers on a wide range of devices including computer systems, laptop, tablets, and smartphones. Then video conferencing equipment. So this one allows two or more locations to communicate simultaneously using telecommunication technologies. An example is Google Meet and Zoom. So network and IoT sensors. So these sensors are one of the fastest sector of information technology that use intelligent devices. All right, the IoT. So it's talking about IoT generally. So the computer industry brands this sector as the Internet of Things. So businesses and customers use IoT devices to automate processes, monitor environment conditions, and alert the user of adverse conditions. Let's look at physical security. For physical security, to enhance physical access control or physical security, you use things like fencing, barricades. So these are physical barriers, okay, doors, or okay. We also have biometrics. So biometrics, automated method of recognizing a subject or an individual based on what is physiological or behavioral characteristics. So biometrics authentication system include measurement of the face, fingerprint, hand geometry, your iris, retina, signature, or your voice. Badges and access logs. So a badge allows an individual to gain access to an area with automated entry points. So an entry point can be a door, a turnstile, a gate, or other barriers. Okay, and another way of enhancing physical security is through surveillance. Use gas and escorts, video and electronic surveillance. That's use of CCTVs, RFID, and wireless surveillance. So this type of surveillance are used to manage and locate important information system assets. So, well, in this chapter, I've discussed few ways or few methods of hardening security in our organization. All right, so it starts from the host system, the host machine. So you could also update your antivirus softwares, uh, monitor or use policies to regulate the privileges of different users, okay, within a computer system. So data protection includes file access control and implement security measures uh, to ensure the confidentiality and integrity of files. So device hardening also involves implementing proven methods of physically securing network devices. So protecting a cybersecurity domain is an ongoing process to secure an organization's network infrastructure and requires a constant vigilance against threats.